When you open the App Store on your phone and look up newsreader apps, you're gonna get so many different options. But what you should really think about is what the news app expects from you.
Today we'll be comparing Feedly and Flipboard, and they are completely different apps. We're gonna be exploring how they allow you to browse the news, as well as how they allow you to curate your own feeds. So let's get started.
Yeah, so opening up Feedly over here, and we're not even gonna go through the onboarding process because honestly, after you give them a username and password, you get this.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm given this screen. I have the full interface for some reason, but nothing nudging me into content. Just this big add content button, and anything I click on just asks me to do the same thing.
Which is pretty awful. I mean, I don't think you should allow someone to try and navigate to different places if you're not actually gonna allow them to do everything. I think there's like 4 different screens that are the same thing, right? If you click here.
This one just says you have nothing.
Okay.
And then this one is where you add content.
Okay,
and this is just search. But like, you know, it's kind of lame. And I guess if you do have one main call to action and you're a designer, just show that thing.
Yeah. Don't allow them to navigate to different places and actually try and do something if you're not going to allow them to do that thing. On the Flipboard side, it's a bit of a different experience. You get started and immediately start with curation. Let's pick some things. The goal also today is try and create a non-depressing news feed.
It's harder than
at least for me. So let's see what we can do.
Healthy eating.
That doesn't seem depressing. Recipes.
Sure.
And movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
All fun things.
Perfect. Continue. It's showing you how you can update your interests. I guess that's...
I mean, as far as tutorials go, maybe not the best to just have an image of how to use the app. You could have had a more interactive experience, but honestly, it's a pass.
Totally.
Let's just go through it.
This is nice. So I don't have to create an account, which we love.
And it's a pretty clear skip button. I mean, I would have loved it to be part of the list, but it's good enough.
So we got movie news, we got the food here, we got some John Wick Chapter 4 stuff going on. So already I'm presented with content that feels relatively appropriate for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on the topics, it's certainly relevant, right? And I think you actually have one of each, almost. 2 movie, okay. But in general, based on the topics, you got something. I mean, let's see what happens on Feedly, because I think this is really a big difference between these 2 apps, is I click on add content, I'm taken to the add content screen, which is one of the nav options at the bottom, the plus. And then, like, okay, I'm thinking maybe I'll just choose tech so I can get some tech news, right? But no. It gives me a list of sources, and moreover, you'll notice that there are no mastheads or descriptions of the different sources. So like, if you don't know what Lifehacker is, it doesn't help you.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's assuming that by clicking through from a topic, you'll be able to know which specific news organizations you're looking for with 0 additional context.
Yeah, like if you're not already familiar with these, I'm basically right now, either I have to leave the app and look them up, or maybe, you know, like we even realize that if you click on the source, it doesn't even tell you what the source is.
That's crazy.
It just shows you articles from it, which maybe is okay, but not really.
Not really.
I guess like I'll click follow on The Verge. Let's just see what happens. And folder creation.
Awesome. So now we've searched a topic. From a topic, we have to search a list of possible news organizations, and then we have to create a folder?
I mean, it's crazy that they're expecting you to be this organized. And I guess this says something about who they, you know, want to use the app, or what that person who would download this is going to do with it, right? Because from here, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll create a folder. I mean, the nice thing is, and this is a nice touch for folder creation in general, is they give you like a sample name. So tech. And if you go and select like another movie-based article, they tell you like movies.
So did you say folder name or is a feed name?
You know what? In all the takes we've done of this video, I've never noticed.
So you create a folder, and the folder is called a feed. So name your feed and your folder. Or where do you name the folder? How many different concepts do you expect a user to juggle in their head at one time?
Yeah, that's a weird one. Okay, well, I guess let's just go with that. So I'm gonna call it tech based on the suggestion. I don't want to think about this anymore. I'm exhausted. So I'm gonna click on create, and now we're gonna get, you see at the very bottom, feed created.
Wow, what a nice success story.
And this added. So let's go done. And then if I click back, oh wow, I have to go through all the steps to get back to the home feed.
That's not.
So let me just add Engadget.
It's odd, right? You're building a feed but you're not actually seeing.
Or feed?
You're building a feed, I think, but you're not actually seeing your feed being built. You know, it's very abstracted. You're not seeing the end result of what you're doing, which is not really best practice, I would say. But I think they assume that maybe you'll be going through this process multiple times over if we're being generous.
Again, if you're the kind of person that has that mindset of like, I know what I want to read, I know how I want to read it, then maybe this is helpful. I wanted to, you know, kind of just go here to the feed itself because the interface is pretty standard.
Totally.
You have the photo, the title, and you just kind of scroll these casually, but it's not very special otherwise. Whereas on Flipboard, it's something else.
We got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So initially I was a little skeptical. You know, I was feeling that this kind of flipping mechanic here, as you can see, I can flip, which is very fun. You know, maybe had some actual limitations in terms of usability. Maybe you want to scroll back to a page. But what I noticed is that you actually become hyper aware of what you're looking at as you make the decision. And it makes you kind of consider what's in front of you a little bit more deeply, in my opinion. You know, who knows? It's kind of a subjective thing to say, but you can't just scroll endlessly. You really have to look at each one. It's a very intentional way of exploring.
It is tactile.
It's tactile.
Feels like a page.
Totally.
And what's nice is like maybe keep going. So like this is a single article, but then you get like different interfaces. Totally. Like this For You page, keep going.
And this again prompts more exploring and browsing as you go, whereas this interface, you're not entirely sure how to discover new content.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like because of that interface on Flipboard side, they can show you, you know, here are some other publications you should check out.
Yeah.
Here are some things you should follow. Whereas this, they don't really do that. That's not to say that it can't be done without flipping, but it's just not as easy to keep the user aware of what's going on. What is interesting is there's this weird completionist thing at the bottom here. It's like you've reviewed 20 and you can mark them all as read, which again speaks a lot to the mentality of the person on this kind of
also who it might be made for. We were discussing earlier that it might be that journalists or economists who want to keep track of certain market kind of changes would be using this, and it's actually part of their job to accomplish a certain amount of reading.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you were mentioning exploring. I mean, since we're on Feedly, the only thing I can see for exploring here is this tab at the very top. So you see it says Me and Explore. And if I click on Explore, it will load up yet another kind of scrollable list with these trending in marketing, trending in design. Not entirely sure how these are chosen, to be honest with you.
Whereas I guess the Explore on Feedly, you have featured, news, local, business, tech. I mean, they have—
There's a search.
There is a search, which is nice.
The only search on Feedly is Power Search, which has this like coding.
Most complicated search of all time. Like, just you would expect that this is a basic functionality.
And so let's say I wanted to like just something casual, food.
Wow.
Get Power Search. It's paid.
Get Power.
Search is paid.
I guess search in Feedly is considered a power search.
A power user feature. And it's such a stark difference. Like exploration here is almost a second thought. Whereas here it's like top of mind.
Totally.
They include things that you didn't subscribe for in your feed. You can click on an explicit explore section. None of that on Feedly.
So we're going to quickly look at the article views just to show them side by side and see a little bit what they're showing.
Yeah, so you chose just like a random article here.
Ooh, look at this. Seeing an intrusive pop-up, tap here to remove them.
Yeah, that's like the reader view from like...
Please use sparingly. Ads fund these stories.
That's very
Wow, that's cool.
That's very thoughtful.
And then you click that. Look at that. That's wicked.
Whereas on Feedly, you see you have to visit website. So it's kind of a similar thing where it's like instead of telling you like don't do this, it's like you have to go to the website, I guess, for legal reasons.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So there you have it. Those are two apps that come up in the same search, but have entirely different expectations from you as a user who's maybe just interested in reading the news. And so with Feedly, you get something that requires a structured mind, that requires that you know the sources that you want to read, but not much exploration. And with Flipboard, lots of exploration, opportunities, topic-based, not publication-based.
Totally. So if you thought this was interesting, or maybe you use a different newsreader app that you love, let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and like.